Evening, everybody. Welcome to Solo ReacTalk. This evening, I'm going to be reacting to Music to Win a War, music of World War II on the World War II YouTube channel. This is part of the On the Homefront playlist. Remember, guys, if you guys want to check out my previous reactions to the other videos on the Homefront playlist, remember the playlist card is going to be at the top here. Just click on it and be able to access them. If you want to check out the original video as well as World War II YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. Okay, let's start. 3, 2, 1, go.
Do you have your own soundtrack? Well, I do, and doesn't everyone and everything? World War II is arguably the first major war to have its own recorded soundtrack, and the countries at war are not shy to use the power of music to help people get through the war and keep them motivated, both on the front lines and on the home front. I'm Anna Deinhardt. This is an On the Homefront World War II special on popular music in America, Britain, and the Soviet Union. Music has always been part of war, but with the fairly recent introduction of recorded music and broadcast radio, beginning only 2 decades earlier, World War II is the first time in history when people can be instantly united by musical experience across the globe. Pop stars is also a pretty new thing in the 1940s, and World War II will have their own. In Great Britain, the first of them will be Vera Lynn. Performing since the age of 7, she records her first hits aged 20 in 1937, The Little Boy That Santa Claus Forgot, and Red Sails in the Sunset. It's music by a young person for young people, so it's perhaps no wonder that in a newspaper poll just after the war begins, the servicemen rank her as their favorite entertainer, naming her the force's sweetheart. That year, she records 2 songs that will define the British experience of war. First is There'll Always Be in England, written by Ross Parker and Hughie Charles for the film Discoveries, made in the summer when war was looming.
And since they don't have, well, during that time, they didn't have cell phones and earphones for their cell phones so they could hear their own personal music, everybody had to listen to the same sort of music. Everybody had to listen to the same artist. They all had to congregate around a radio device or a what do they call them? Jukeboxes, and they would all listen to the music. I don't know if I'd enjoy that. I want to listen to my own music in my own personal space. I don't really want to congregate with so many other people and all of us listening to the same music. It's kind of weird for me, yeah.
It's a big call for patriotism with the refrain, "There'll always be in England, and England shall be free, if England means as much to you as England means to me." When war breaks out, it becomes a symbol of British defiance against the Nazi threat. During the Blitz, newspapers report of plucky Brits spontaneously breaking into its chorus in the bomb shelters. In one widely circulated news item, children escaping a torpedoed ship calmly settle into their lifeboats and beginning singing the song as they sail into safety. It becomes such an iconic song that the Sex Pistols will use it, perhaps punk-ironically, for their entrance song in their reunion tour in the 21st century.
Wait, what was the group called? Sex Pistols? Okay.
Its fame is matched only by Vera's second biggest hit of 1939, We'll Meet Again, also written by Parker and Charles. It's pretty obvious why people relate, as it's about the hope that anyone seeing their loved ones go off to war will have, with the refrain, "We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we meet again some sunny day." The BBC rotates it constantly, and in 1943 a movie is made with the same name. It stars Vera Lynn herself, performing as a singer for civilians and troops in blitzed London.
So she's a singer, she's an actor, is she also a dancer? Because you need to be having the triple threat in today's entertainment industry. Yeah, I'm wondering about that.
Her next big hit comes in 1940 and is more about escaping the horrors of war. A Nightingale Sang in Berkeley Square is a romantic number about a couple's perfect night in London. Now, this song travels across the Atlantic when in October 1940, the famed Glenn Miller records it with his band. Miller is the biggest star of the main pop genre, swing music, a form of jazz that dominates the dance halls in America in the 1930s and 40s. According to a New York Times article in November 1939, of the 12 to 24 discs in each of today's 300,000 US jukeboxes, from 2 to 6 are usually Glenn Miller's. But in 1940, pop music in America has few reminders of Europe's war, making it no wonder that it's the romantic tune A Nightingale Sang in Berkeley Square that joins dance hits and love songs in the jukeboxes.
Yeah, they were still in their own, can I say, like a bubble. They're just going to pretend like the war in Europe doesn't exist, or, you know, they're just going to sidestep it and just enjoy themselves in their country in peace until Japan wakes them up, if I can say that.
That's what Americans want, and they decide what they get. It looks a bit different when you can control the media. In the Soviet Union, as tensions rise in the 1930s, the authorities deliberately try to make the prospect of war look less threatening. In the 1938 widely played song, If There Is War Tomorrow, the lyrics say, "If tomorrow brings war, the country will be stirred up, so that it'll be able to make the enemy surrender cruelly." Well, I hope the lyrics sound...
That is supposed to make you feel confident or safe or reassured that your country... Wow, okay.
Better in Russian. Never mind. Anyway, the officially approved popular genre is called Soviet Estrada. It is a musical blend of styles that draws inspiration from everything from Russian folk to Western jazz. It's almost always performed by a huge orchestra with a large wind section supporting the singers. The lyrics are subject to censorship and are mostly about Soviet values like camaraderie and patriotism. There is a whole system behind what music Soviets are allowed to enjoy. Some weeks before Germany invades on June 22, 1941, the poet Evgeny Dolomatovsky and several of his colleagues are...
Yo, what a name. Evgeny. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it correctly. Dolmatovsky. Okay.
Are called to a meeting by the editor of the musical division of the radio. They are to decide which songs the Red Army will take into battle in case of war. Already in the first few days after the German attack, hundreds of them are composed and published. The Orgkomitee, the organizing committee of the Union of Composers, listens to around 75 songs and approves around 50 every day to performance, publication, and broadcast. Not to anyone's surprise, the songs are calls to patriotism, praise of the USSR, and calls for victory.
It kind of sounds boring. Sometimes you want to listen to music that just, you know, talks about love or misery or happiness or food or culture, you know. It doesn't always have to be patriotic, stay patriotic, fight patriotic, you know. I'd get so bored.
Anthem, The Sacred War, Sviashenaya Voina, comes out in June 27th and proclaims, "Arise, huge country, arise to the fatal battle with the fascist dark force, with the accursed horde, let noble rage build like a wave. The people's war, the sacred war, is being waged." With wartime resources scarce, records are hard to produce, so new radio programs are created instead, like Slushai Front, Listen Front, that premieres on June 23, 1941. And as the world goes up in flames, the war also starts to creep into popular culture of the US. The first major hit in that direction is Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy by the Andrews Sisters. Released in January 1941, it is written for the movie Private Bucks, a comedy about two American boys enlisted into the army under the Selective Training and Service Act of 1940. The song is nominated for the Oscar for Best Original Song, but loses out to another reminder of the war, The Last Time I Saw Paris, from the movie Lady Be Good. First recorded in 1940, it laments the loss of the beautiful Paris to the Nazis. And as the war edges closer, US performers start to adapt. On August 30, 1941, Glenn Miller premieres a new weekly program, the Glenn Miller Sunset Serenade. The show allows 5 Army training camps to vote for their favorite song of the Miller Big Band to be played live in a radio broadcast with studio audience. The audience votes on their favorite, and the camp which proposes the song is awarded a record player and 50 records.
Man, this is... it's amazing, really. You know, having the public, having the military camps being involved in choosing the music and curating it, and which one should be the most popular, and also giving back to the military personnel records and jukeboxes. Really, it's like an entire promotion campaign for what's his name again, Glenn Miller's enterprise, if I can say that, because he's not only just performing, he's also generating a lot of interest from the public into his product, into his music, into his band. He must have been very successful from such an endeavor.
Glenn Miller, a self-avowed patriot, pays for all this himself, dishing out around $1,000 per broadcast, close to $19,000 in 2021. I don't want to be cynical, but it is good marketing as well.
Yes, very good marketing.
The same year, 1 out of every 3 records played on a jukebox is a Glenn Miller piece. Back in Britain, Vera Lynn also gets her own radio show. The Army Sweetheart has a broadcast on the BBC every Sunday evening called
Sincerely Yours, Vera Lynn.
Reaching around 20% of all British households. It's broadcast to the soldiers in the field as well, so between songs Vera tells news from the home front. One highlight is when she announces the birth of babies to their fighting fathers in faraway places of the world. In a time when direct communication is difficult at best, she becomes the go-between, or as she says herself in 1942, "When I sing for the boys, I feel as though I'm the sort of in-between. I mean that I sing to her from him and tell one what the other wants to say." In the US too, music changes when America joins the war, but here it is the musicians themselves who react. The day after the attack on Pearl Harbor, December 8, 1941, the Miller Big Band is scheduled to record 6 new songs. Miller decides to rename one tune originally, "That's Where I Came In," to keep them flying, to celebrate the US Army Air Force. Other musicians even record aggressively anti-Japanese, to not say downright racist songs, like country singer Carson Robison's hit "We're Gonna Have to Slap the Dirty Little Jap." And no, we're not going to sing that.
How do you even sing that? Okay.
But music is mainly still about escapism. An official from the Wurlitzer Company, maker of jukeboxes, comments, "Troops on leave, defense workers off duty, a whole population reading, talking, hearing little but national defense, the critical necessity of it, the wallet walloping cost of it, the sacrifice necessary to accomplish it, all America needs is to temper the tenseness of the time with moments of relaxation, and that calls for music." But later, in 1942, the music company bosses will adapt to the demand for something more related to the actual war. There's a growing demand for spiffy calls to arms, and where there is demand, there is money. One classic in that genre is Praise the Lord and Pass the Ammunition, a song about a military chaplain who says exactly that while manning the guns.
That is cool. That is cool. Praise the Lord and pass me the ammunition.
It's credited to an actual Navy chaplain, Howell Maurice Forgy. Allegedly, he said it on the heavy cruiser USS New Orleans during the Pearl Harbor attack. Within the first 2 months after its recording in 1942, 450,000 copies are sold. Other songs celebrate the efforts on the home front. A famous cultural icon is created by Red Evans and John Jacob Loeb's song Rosie the Riveter. Recorded by numerous artists, is a call for women to join the war industry. While other girls attend their favorite cocktail bar, sipping dry martinis, munching caviar, there's a girl who's really putting them to shame. Rosie is her name. But while the changes in the US and Great Britain are mostly market-driven, censorship also plays a role as the war progresses. In February 1942, Singapore falls to the Japanese, and the BBC decide to cancel Vera Lynn's Sincerely Yours broadcast. Apparently, its sentimentality is un-British and damaging to the masculinity of the men on the front. It's not the end of Vera's wartime career, though. And she will support the troops throughout the entire conflict, even giving live concerts for soldiers in Egypt, India, and Burma.
Wow, she really went to like the conflict areas, the conflict zones, and set up, a stage, and she performed for the military personnel that were there. Wow, okay. I mean, isn't that a bit dangerous? Because it's still an active war zone, so the enemy might still attack. But wow, that's impressive. That's brave.
The fear of sentimentality damaging motivation also hits songs in the USSR. A very popular song is Vezemyanke, In the Dugout, from early 1942, about a soldier hidden in his winter dugout, drawing strength from the memory of his love at home. The lines: "It is not easy for me to reach you, but death lies only 4 steps away," are thought to be too destructive to the nation's morale, and the song is banned in summer 1942. That doesn't stop soldiers from constantly requesting it in letters to the radio, though. Music helps us cope, and it can even transport us to a better place in our minds. 2 nurses in a mountain division recall: "We had an old Pathaphone and several records. The soldiers would come from different battalions to the dugout. They came under fire, in the rain, or in snowstorms. We crowded around the Pathaphone and glued to it. As we heard the old favorite songs, everything turned over inside. We remembered our homes and dances in the park." Art is mirror to the times, and artists react like everyone else. To Glenn Miller, reacting to the war through music isn't enough. He is at the top of his game with an income of $15,000 to $20,000 a week, and has just starred in 2 hit films with his band. But he feels a deep need to do his bit in the actual war. But he's 38, too old for the draft, and has no military skills. So he's
38 is too old? Wow. Okay. Yeah, definitely it is a young man's war then.
rejected by the Navy in August 42. Miller won't have it though, and writes a personal letter to the Army Brigadier General Charles Young, head of personnel for the Army Services of Supply. By appropriate planning, programs could be regularly broadcast to the men in the service. Such programs might put a little more spring into the feet of our marching men and a little more joy into their hearts. I should like to go into the army if I could be placed in charge of a modernized army band. On September 8th, Glenn Miller is then accepted into the Army Specialist Corps as a captain. He plays one last civilian concert and issues a press statement stating, "I, like every American, have an obligation to fulfill. That obligation is to lend as much support as I can to winning this war." On October 7th, 1942, he reports to duty and will proceed to form his new band, the 418th Army Air Force Technical Training Command Band. On December 15, 1944, traveling from Bedford, England to Paris, France to arrange for his new band to move there, his plane disappears over the English Channel to never be seen again. Although the source of many conspiracy myths, it is by all probability just another tragic accident death in this war. Vera Lynn, on the other hand, will not only survive the war, but live to the proud age of 103. She will record her last album to make the chart, age 100, and once again become the best-selling female recording artist in Britain that year.
Wow. Wow.
Her last public performance will be a virtual duet with Katherine Jenkins to celebrate the 75th anniversary of VE Day during the COVID pandemic. She dies of natural causes only a month later. On July 10th, 2020, she is buried with full military honors, including an escort of all branches of the armed forces and a Battle of Britain Spitfire flypast.
Perfect send-off.
And if you want to make sure that we'll meet again, join the Time Ghost Army on Patreon or timeghost.tv, subscribe, and ring that bell!
Yes, guys, that is it with Music to Win a War, music of World War II, made on the World War II YouTube channel on the Homefront playlist. Yeah, music is very powerful, especially in times of distress, in times of calamity, war, death, and destruction. Music can take you into a place, into your imagination, a peace of mind, where you think about something that is not related to your current predicament. And yeah, it's interesting, hearing how the Russian government tried to control what type of music should be, distributed to the public and to the military personnel. How it is purely focused on a patriotic sense of making music that only focuses on making the Russian public feel galvanized, confident about this war, and they should always be protecting and honoring the motherland or the fatherland, no matter what. It's very interesting how they did their type of music. I find it quite boring, to be only listening to the same patriotic messages over and over and over again. I would want to listen to music that talks about love, that talks about pain, that talks about food, that talks about different cities, something else other than just continuously listening to patriotic type of music. But it worked for them, and they really did push during World War II against Germany. So yeah, it worked. In terms of Vera Lynn as well as Glenn Miller, how they also contributed in their countries with their music and galvanizing the soldiers. Of course, in America, it didn't start out that way. They were still enjoying their own type of music that is not primarily focused on the wartime effort. It was just mainly focused on their own entertainment and the American way of life and the American dream, if I can say that as well. How they all just were enjoying their lives while Europe was in turmoil, and it was going through some tough times. And how Vera was young, when she was becoming a pop star during wartime. She was very young, very likable, it seems, and she could sing. She could, I don't know about dancing, but she could act as well. So, you know, either you would hear her on the radio, or you'd hear her on the jukebox, or you'd see her on the silver screen, as they call it. So, yeah, she was very well accomplished, and she was liked, respected, and she's lived for a very long time, all the way up to 2020. That's amazing. She's lived a full life. And like I said before, the government gave her a proper send-off. You know, a proper send-off. And what happened to Glenn Miller, it is unfortunate. What happened to his plane, whether it crashed or whether it was shot down in the ocean, I don't know. Yeah, it really is unfortunate what happened to him. But he also contributed to his country and to his people with his type of music. And, you know, it's just something you should not look down on. You know, artists, those who perform, those who sing, those who create with their hands, you should never look down upon those type of people, because it is from them that culture continues to rejuvenate, continues to grow. It is from them that we have inspiration, that we are inspired to continue either fighting or to grow a nation. So yeah, you know, in their own way, they've contributed to the war effort. A very, very important, pivotal, structure that supported the war effort. Just like with the Russian Dolmatowski. Yes, hopefully I'm pronouncing his surname correctly. He also contributed to the wartime effort for the motherland of Russia. And, you know, it's very important having these people who can speak to the hearts and the minds of the civilians and of the military personnel. Not like only the politicians. You know, you need people who can serenade you, people who can put you at ease, and these are the people that are very important as well for the wartime effort. Yeah. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Guys, that is it. Remember, if you want to check out the original video as well as World War II's YouTube channel, the links are going to be in the description below. If you like my reaction, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Click on the notification bell if you want to be up to date with my latest videos, and I'll see you guys next week. Okay? Bye-bye.